Welcome back to another episode of Valuable Coins, where we dive deep into the world of numismatics, uncovering the most valuable and unique coins in the market today. If you're a coin enthusiast, collector, or simply interested in the incredible value of rare coins, you're in the right place. In today's video, we will explore two of the most fascinating and expensive United States coins currently circulating the auction market. First up, the 1971 Australian 20-cent coin is part of the early decades of Australia's decimal currency system, which had been introduced just 5 years earlier in 1966, when the country transitioned from pounds, shillings, and pence to dollars and cents. The 20-cent coin became one of the core denominations. By 1971, Australians had fully adjusted to the new decimal system, and the 20-cent coin was a familiar piece of everyday money, used in everything from daily shopping to larger transactions. For collectors today, coins from this period offer a fascinating look back at the early years of Australia's modern coinage. The reverse of the coin features one of the most iconic Australian decimal coin designs, the platypus, designed by Stuart Devlin. Devlin, who served as goldsmith to the Queen, was responsible for many of the designs in the new decimal series, and the platypus on the 20-cent coin quickly became a national favorite. The animal is shown swimming through water, surrounded by curved lines that suggest motion and flow. The bold numeral 20 sits prominently above the design. This combination of simplicity, symbolism, and distinctive Australian wildlife has made the 20-cent coin's reverse one of the most enduring and recognizable designs in modern Australian coinage. From a technical perspective, the 1971 Australian 20-cent coin is made of copper nickel. It weighs 11.31 grams, measures 28.65 millimeters in diameter, and has a reeded or milled edge. The coin is relatively large compared to many other denominations, making it a noticeable and practical piece for circulation. The mintage for the 1971 20-cent coin was high, with more than 56 million examples produced. This large mintage means that the coin is not rare overall, though its value depends largely on condition. The specific coin being discussed here is in good condition, with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, good is one of the lower circulated grades. A coin in good condition will show heavy wear across most of the design. On the obverse, the Queen's portrait is visible, but much of the finer detail in her hair and the tiara will be worn smooth. The lettering and date remain legible, but the overall appearance is flat. On the reverse, the platypus is still visible, but the flowing waterlines and finer textures have been worn away. The scratches further reduce the eye appeal, since they count as damage beyond normal wear. Collectors generally prefer coins without such marks, so scratches almost always lower the value. In today's auction market, a 1971 Australian 20-cent coin in good condition with scratches usually carries only minimal value. Because of the high mintage and the fact that so many circulated examples survive, coins in lower grades are common. Typically, such a coin will trade for its face value of 20 cents, and in most cases, it is not worth significantly more. Sometimes, if sold individually to a collector looking for a specific date, it may fetch slightly higher, perhaps up to 50 cents, but scratches and heavy wear make it less appealing. Higher grade coins from 1971 do have greater value. Coins in very fine or extra fine condition, which show sharper detail and less wear, can sell for $1 to $2 in the current auction market. Uncirculated examples, which retain their original mint luster and have never been used, can command higher premiums, often in the range of $5 to $10, depending on quality. Proof coins, struck in limited numbers for collectors, are especially desirable and can reach $20 or more if preserved in their original packaging. Error coins from 1971, such as misstrikes, clipped planchettes, or off-center designs, are also valuable and can bring strong prices, sometimes much higher than standard coins. Next up, the 1994 Australian 50-cent coin is part of the country's decimal series, which was introduced in 1966 when Australia replaced the old pounds, shillings, and pence system with the modern dollar and cent system. Since then, the 50-cent coin has become one of the most distinctive pieces in Australian currency. With its large size and 12-sided shape, it stands out easily in circulation and is often seen as a coin of national pride. From a technical perspective, the 1994 Australian 50-cent coin is struck in copper nickel, weighs 15.55 grams, and measures 31.65 millimeters across. Its distinctive dodecagonal shape makes it unique among circulating coins, not only in Australia but worldwide. The mintage for 1994 was large, with tens of millions of coins produced for circulation. Because of this, the 1994 issue is not considered rare, and many examples remain readily available in everyday transactions even decades later. The coin under discussion here is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches. In numismatic terms, dirty usually refers to surface discoloration, staining, or accumulated grime that is built up over years of handling and circulation. Scratches indicate damage beyond ordinary wear, which further reduces a coin's visual appeal and desirability. In this state, the coin would generally fall into the fine or possibly even lower grade category. On the obverse, the Queen's portrait would still be visible, but most of the finer hair details and crown design would be flattened. On the reverse, the coat of arms would remain identifiable, but much of the sharpness in the shield, kangaroo, and emu would be worn smooth, with scratches distracting from the overall design when considering its market value. Australian 50-cent coin in dirty condition with scratches generally sells for around its face value of 50 cents. In some cases, if sold individually to a collector specifically needing the 1994 date, it might fetch up to $1, but in most situations, these lower-grade examples do not attract much competition at auctions. Their common nature and the abundance of better-preserved examples keep the value modest. Coins in higher condition grades are more appealing to collectors and naturally command higher prices. A 1994 50-cent coin in very fine or extremely fine condition may sell for $1 to $2. Uncirculated examples with no wear and full mint luster often bring $3 to $5, while proof coins made for collector sets can sell for $10 to $20, particularly if they remain in their original presentation packaging. Error coins from 1994, such as misstrikes, off-center coins, or planchette flaws, are much scarcer and can fetch significantly higher values depending on their uniqueness and appeal to error collectors in practice. Most circulated 1994 coins in dirty or scratched condition are sold in bulk lots along with other common 50-cent pieces. Dealers may group them by weight or in mixed-date rolls, where the per-coin value essentially equals face value. Individual worn examples are rarely sought after in auctions, though they can still be useful to beginning collectors who want to complete a date set without spending much money. Next up, the 1976 Australian 20-cent coin is part of the first decade of decimal currency in Australia, a period that is especially interesting to collectors today because it marked the nation's transition into a modern coinage system. Decimal currency was introduced in 1966, and within just a few years, Australians had become accustomed to the new dollar-based system. By 1976, the decimal coins were deeply embedded in daily life, with the 20-cent coin being one of the most widely used denominations in circulation. The reverse design is the work of Stuart Devlin, the artist and goldsmith who created many of Australia's decimal coin designs. For the 20-cent coin, Devlin chose to feature the platypus, one of the country's most unique and beloved native animals. The platypus is shown swimming through stylized water currents, its streamlined body and distinctive bill instantly recognizable. Above the design is the bold numeral 20 clearly marking the denomination. This design has remained unchanged since 1966 and is one of the most enduring. Images in Australian coinage. In terms of specifications, the 1976 20-cent coin is made of copper nickel, weighs 11.31 grams, and measures 28.65 millimeters in diameter. It has a milled or reeded edge and is large and heavy compared to smaller denominations, giving it a substantial feel in the hand. The mintage for 1976 was more than 38 million coins, meaning that it is not a rare date overall. However, condition plays a key role in determining value. And while uncirculated examples are sought after, lower-grade circulated coins are much more common. The coin being discussed here is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic terms, fine is a circulated grade that sits above good but below very fine. A coin in fine condition shows considerable wear, but the main design elements remain clear and identifiable. On the obverse of a 1976 coin, the Queen's profile will still be visible, though much of the detail in her hair and tiara will be worn smooth. On the reverse, the platypus remains identifiable, but many of the finer textures, such as the fur and flowing waterlines, will be flattened by wear. Scratches reduce the eye appeal further since they count as damage beyond ordinary circulation wear. Collectors usually prefer coins with clean surfaces, so scratches make the coin less attractive in the marketplace. In today's auction market, a 1976 Australian 20-cent coin in fine condition with scratches typically has modest value. Because of the high mintage and the abundance of circulated examples, coins in this grade usually sell for around their face value of 20 cents. In some cases, if sold individually to a collector who specifically needs this date, the coin might bring up to 50 cents, but generally scratches and wear keep the price at the lower end. Higher grade coins from 1976 are much more desirable to collectors. A coin in very fine or extremely fine condition, showing sharper details and less wear, can sell for $1 to $2 at auction. Uncirculated examples with full mint luster and no wear often bring $5 to $10, depending on their quality and demand. Proof coins, which were struck in smaller numbers and sold in special collector sets, are worth even more, often $20 or higher if preserved well. Error coins, such as misstrikes, double strikes, or clipped planchettes, are also of interest and can command strong premiums, sometimes far exceeding the value of regular circulation strikes. In practice, most circulated 1976 20-cent coins are sold in bulk lots with other decimal coins. Dealers often offer large groups of circulated coins at or near face value, and in these cases, the per-coin price rarely exceeds what the coin is worth as legal tender. Individual scratched examples are seldom listed separately, since collectors prefer higher quality pieces, but for beginners or casual collectors, a fine condition coin can still be an inexpensive way to fill a date in their collection. First up, the 1996 Australian 50-cent coin is part of the country's decimal series, which began in 1966 when Australia transitioned away from pounds, shillings, and pence to a simpler dollar and cent system. By 1996, the 50-cent coin had already undergone one major design change. The very first 1966 coins were struck in round silver, containing 80% silver content, but these were quickly withdrawn due to the rising value of silver. In 1969, Australia introduced the dodecagonal, or 12-sided copper-nickel coin that we know today. By 1996, this new shape and size had already become iconic, recognized instantly by Australians as the largest circulating coin in both size and weight. On the obverse of the 1996 coin is the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II created by Raphael Makloff. This effigy was introduced in 1985 and used until 1998, so it appears on all Australian coins struck during that period. Makloff's design portrays the Queen wearing the royal diadem, facing right, with her shoulders and part of the neckline visible. The portrait is more formal and idealized compared to the earlier McKin effigy, showing the Queen with a regal and dignified bearing. Around the portrait are the inscriptions Elizabeth II and Australia 1996, identifying the monarch, issuing nation and year of minting from a technical standpoint. The 1996 50-cent coin is struck in copper nickel, weighs 15.55 grams, and measures 31.65 millimeters across. Its dodecagonal shape makes it unique and easily identifiable among Australia's coins. Millions of 50-cent coins were produced in 1996, with no particularly low mintages for that year, which means it is not considered a rare date in the series. Because of this, condition plays the biggest role in determining value. The coin in question here is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. In coin grading terms, fine means the coin has seen considerable circulation. Most of the major details are still visible, but much of the finer detail has been worn away. On the obverse, the Queen's portrait will still be clear, but her hair, crown, and facial features will show noticeable flattening. On the reverse, the coat of arms remains identifiable, but many of the smaller lines and textures are smoothed from wear. The added presence of scratches further lowers the eye appeal, since scratches are considered damage beyond normal wear. In today's auction market, a 1996 Australian 50-cent coin in fine condition with scratches does not attract much premium. Generally, such a coin is worth its face value of 50 cents. Sometimes it may sell for slightly above face if offered individually, perhaps up to $1, particularly if a beginner collector needs this specific date to complete a set. However, because 1996 is a common year, most collectors prefer to seek out higher-grade examples. By contrast, coins in higher condition grades are more desirable. A 1996 50-cent coin in extremely fine or about uncirculated condition may sell for $2 to $3. Uncirculated examples with full mint luster often bring $3 to $5, while proof coins struck for collector sets can reach $10 to $20, especially when kept in their original presentation packaging. Error coins from 1996 are also worth noting. Misstrikes, off-center coins, or clipped planchettes are considered collectible and can fetch significantly higher prices depending on rarity and demand. In practice, most circulated 1996 coins in fine or lower condition are often sold in bulk lots of mixed 50-cent pieces. Dealers might offer bags or rolls of these coins by weight, where the value per coin is essentially face value. Individual scratched examples rarely sell for more than 50 cents to $1 in online auctions, since better preserved coins are widely available. Next up, the 1967 Australian 20-cent coin is an important part of the country's early decimal currency history. Just the year before, in 1966, Australia made the major transition from the traditional pounds, shillings, hayas, and pence system to the new decimal system of dollars and cents. This change represented a modernization of the nation's economy and brought Australia into line with many other countries that had already adopted decimal currency. The 20-cent coin, introduced in 1966, became one of the key denominations, and by 1967 it was already well established in the pockets of Australians across the country. The reverse of the coin features the much-loved platypus design created by Stuart Devlin. Devlin, who was the goldsmith to the Queen, was responsible for several of Australia's decimal coin designs. His depiction of the platypus shows the animal swimming through stylized waves, giving a sense of motion and energy. The large numeral 20 sits prominently above the design. This imagery was chosen not only for its artistic qualities, but also to showcase one of Australia's most unique native creatures, emphasizing national identity in the new currency system. Technically, the 1967 20-cent coin is made from copper nickel, weighs 11.31 grams, and measures 28.65 millimeters in diameter. It has a milled edge and was struck in very large numbers for circulation. The mintage for 1967 exceeded 83 million pieces, which means that this is not a scarce coin in general, because so many were produced and circulated widely. Most surviving examples today are in lower grades, and condition becomes the most important factor when considering collector. Value. The coin being discussed here is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches. In numismatic terms, a coin in dirty condition often means it has collected grime, discoloration, or surface residue from decades of circulation and handling. The scratches further reduce its eye appeal, since they are seen as damage beyond normal wear. Taken together, this coin would grade somewhere between good and fine on the numismatic scale. In such a grade, much of the Queen's hair detail on the obverse would be worn flat, though her portrait remains clear. On the reverse, the platypus design is still identifiable, but with much of the finer texture, and lines smoothed away. When it comes to market value, a 1967 20-cent coin in dirty condition with scratches has only modest worth in today's auction environment. Typically, such coins sell for around their face value of 20 cents. Occasionally, if sold individually to a collector who specifically needs this date, it might fetch a small premium, perhaps up to 50 cents, but generally, scratched and dirty examples are not highly sought after. Their abundance keeps values low, and collectors usually prefer coins in higher grades when building sets. By contrast, higher-grade 1967 coins are more valuable. A coin in very fine or extremely fine condition can bring $1 to $2 at auction. Uncirculated examples with full mint luster and no wear often sell for $5 to $15, depending on eye appeal. Proof coins from 1967, which were struck in small numbers for collectors, are much scarcer and more valuable, sometimes selling for $20 or more if still in original packaging. Error coins from 1967 are also of interest. Examples with misstrikes, clipped planchettes, or off-center strikes can fetch strong premiums, sometimes many times higher than standard coins. Next up, the 2003 Australian 50-cent coin is part of the decimal series that has been in circulation since 1966. By the early 2000s, the 50-cent piece had long been established as one of the most recognizable and distinctive coins in Australian currency. With its large size and unique dodecagonal or 12-sided shape, it was instantly identifiable in change and had become a symbol of Australia's decimal coinage. Technically, the 2003 Australian 50-cent coin is struck in weighing 15.55 grams and measuring 31.65 millimeters across. Its large size and heavy weight make it one of the most substantial circulating coins in the world. The dodecagonal shape ensures it stands out in both appearance and feel, making it difficult to confuse with other denominations. Millions of 50-cent coins were minted in 2003, so this issue is not considered rare. Availability and circulation means condition is the key factor in determining collector value. The coin being discussed here is described as being in extra fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, extra fine means the coin has seen only limited circulation. Much of the detail remains intact, though there is light wear on the higher points. On the obverse, the Queen's hair, crown, and facial features are still sharp, though some flattening may be visible on the highest areas. On the reverse, the fine details of the coat of arms, such as the feathers on the emu, the texture of the kangaroo, and the wattle sprays, are mostly preserved. Though light wear is noticeable, the mention of scratches does reduce the appeal of the coin. Even in an extra fine grade, surface marks and scratches are considered damage that lowers desirability. Collectors typically prefer coins with clean surfaces, so scratches can prevent a coin from reaching its full market potential. Still, an extra fine coin is significantly better than lower grade circulated examples, which often appear very worn and lack detail. In today's auction market, A 2003 Australian 50-cent coin in extra fine condition with scratches is generally worth around face value, which is 50 cents. Depending on demand and presentation, it might sell for up to $1 or $2, particularly if someone is seeking to fill a date slot in their collection. However, since this is a common modern coin, scratched examples do not usually bring strong competition. Coins in higher grades carry more value. An about uncirculated coin, with only the faintest signs of wear, may sell for $2 to $3. Uncirculated coins with full mint luster can fetch $3 to $5 or more, especially if they are particularly attractive. Proof coins from 2003. Struck specifically for collectors with polished eyes and superior detail, are much scarcer and can sell for $10 to $20 or higher when still in their original packaging. Error coins, such as off-center strikes or clipped planchettes, are also highly collectible and can command significant premiums depending on rarity. In practice, most circulated 2003 50-cent coins are sold in bulk lots along with other common dates. Dealers often offer bags or rolls of mixed 50-cent coins by weight, where the per-coin value is essentially face value. Individual scratched coins rarely attract bids at auction unless they are in exceptionally high grade or have unusual characteristics. Nevertheless, for collectors, even an extra fine example with some scratches has interest. It represents a snapshot of Australian coinage in the early 2000s. When Ian ranked Broadley's realistic effigy of Queen Elizabeth II was dominant across the Commonwealth. It also continues the tradition of Stuart Devlin's coat of arms design, a staple of Australian currency since 1969. While its monetary value may be modest, the coin has cultural and historical significance as part of the ongoing story of Australia's decimal coinage. Next up, the 1980 Australian 20-cent coin belongs to the well-known decimal coinage series that began in 1966. When Australia shifted from the old pounds, shillings and pence system $2 By the time this coin was issued, decimal currency was already well established, and Australians were accustomed to the new denominations. The 20-cent coin had become one of the most important pieces in circulation, large and heavy enough to feel substantial in the hand, and widely used in everyday life. On the obverse of the 1980 coin is the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This effigy was introduced in 1966 and remained in use on Australian coins until 1984. Machin's portrait depicts the Queen wearing the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, facing right, with a youthful and elegant appearance. Around the portrait are the inscriptions Elizabeth II and Australia 1980, which identify the monarch, the issuing country, and the year of minting. This design became iconic, not just in Australia, but across many Commonwealth nations, and is instantly recognized by collectors worldwide from a technical perspective. The 1980 20-cent coin was struck in copper nickel, with a weight of 11.31 grams and a diameter of 28.65 millimeters. It has a milled or reeded edge, and like other coins of the denomination, it is fairly large and substantial compared to smaller coins. The mintage in 1980 was very high, as tens of millions of these coins were produced for circulation. Because of this, the 1980 issue is not considered rare, and examples can still be found in circulation today. Even though they are now more than 40 years old, the coin under discussion here is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches. In numismatic terms, dirty condition means the coin has collected grime, discoloration, or surface residue from decades of handling, circulation, and exposure to the environment. Scratches indicate damage beyond normal wear, which further reduces the coin's eye appeal and desirability. A coin like this would typically fall into the lower end of the grading scale, somewhere between good and fine condition. In such a grade, most of the details of the Queen's portrait are still visible but worn. while on the reverse, the platypus design remains clear but lacks finer details, with the surfaces showing noticeable marks and discoloration. When it comes to value in today's auction market, Australian 20-cent coin in dirty condition with scratches is usually worth around its face value of 20 cents. Collectors generally seek out coins in higher grades, and because the 1980 issue is common, there is no shortage of better examples. Sometimes such a coin might sell for up to 50 cents if offered individually and someone specifically needs that year for a collection. But in most cases, low-grade examples are not heavily bid on at auction. By contrast, higher-grade examples of the 1980 20-cent coin are more valuable. Coins in very fine or extremely fine condition can sell for $1 to $2, while uncirculated examples with full mint luster and no wear may fetch $3 to $5 or more. Proof versions, which were struck in smaller numbers for collectors, are significantly scarcer and can bring $10 to $20, especially if still in original packaging. In addition, error coins from 1980, such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or clipped planchettes, are very collectible and can sell for much higher premiums depending on rarity and demand. In the broader market, most circulated 1980 20-cent coins are sold in bulk lots along with other decimal issues. Dealers may offer rolls or bags of coins from the 1970s and 1980s, where the per-coin value is essentially equal to face value. Individual coins in dirty or scratched condition rarely attract much attention, since better preserved examples are easy to find. However, for beginning collectors, even a worn example of the 1980 coin can be a useful addition, allowing them to fill a date in their album without spending much.